Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning and Development Council of the Town of Oakville. Madam Clerk, do we have any regrets this evening? I don't actually see any absent.
No.
Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. Could we perhaps resolve into Committee of the Whole for this evening? Councillor Johnston and Councillor Robinson moving and seconding. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And we are resolved in Committee of the Whole. Council, the first item on our agenda tonight is the assumption of Subdivision Plan 20M-1001, the landmark bylaw. This is a consent item. Is there a motion for this item? Councillor Elgar moves it. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We have no confidential consent items, but we do have a public hearing item, and perhaps a word of explanation to the public will be helpful. This is a public meeting report. The purpose of tonight is to hear the public consultation that Council strives to get on important issues like this. We won't be making a decision tonight. The planners will collect the information that Council is offered tonight, and they'll take it into account when they come back at a future meeting with a recommendation report. So that's the way these public hearing items work. There was a time when the public would come and give their information, and the report would already be written, and Council would listen and then deal with the recommendation right on the spot. But this Council has opened that up so that your input has a greater chance of being weighed in the decision. So with that, I'll turn to the Commissioner of Planning, Ms. Jane Closey, because she has an introduction to make.
Mayor and members of Council, I wanted to introduce to you our newest member of the Planning Services team, Paul Barrette. Joined us less than a month ago and is already here in front of you with the presentation. He is a planner as part of the West team, so he will be working with that team in terms of the west side of the town, looking at all the planning applications. So please be gentle on him tonight.
We're always gentle. The point of the meeting is to gather information, and Mr. Barrette's role is to summarize, not just for Council but also for the public, the contents of the report that Council have from the Planning Department on the matter. Mr. Barrette, we're all ears.
Thank you, Mayor Burton and members of Council. This is a statutory public meeting related to a zoning bylaw amendment application submitted by Mirabel Developments and Investment, Inc. For the redevelopment of an existing plaza on the north side of Pine Grove Road across from Wendell Place. The report can be found on page 5 of tonight's agenda. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to obtain any public input related to this application. No recommendation on the application is proposed tonight. Staff will return in the future following a comprehensive review of the application with a recommendations report. As can be seen by the air photo, the area to the west, south, and east is residential in nature. To the northwest, north, and northeast, the area is employment with properties fronting onto Spears Road. The subject property was created as part of a draft plan of subdivision in 1955. Construction of the plaza took place in early 1960. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the existing plaza with an additional 167 square meters of ground floor commercial by filling in the open area of the U-shaped plaza. In addition, the applicant is proposing 50 residential units consisting of a mix of 1- and 2-bedroom rental units on 3 floors above the existing and proposed ground floor commercial. Access is to remain off Pine Grove Road opposite Wendell Place. Parking will consist of surface parking with additional parking at the rear of the property. In the Livable Oakville plan, the site is designated neighborhood commercial. Section 13.5.1 states residential uses above ground floor retail and service commercial uses may also be permitted. The site is zoned C1. Residential uses are not permitted in the C1 zone, and as such, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. Issues raised at the public information meeting include traffic, maintenance of the site, tenure of the units, and impact and integration of the proposed development on adjoining properties. 7 letters have also been received since the public information meeting outlining similar issues. Comments received at this public meeting will also be considered as part of the comprehensive review. In conclusion, Your Worship, staff put forth the following recommendation as shown for Council's consideration. Once again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to obtain any further public comment. The application remains in technical review. Staff will return to Council in the future with a recommendation report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrette. Councillor Delegate.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. You had outlined matters to be considered, and you sort of summarized the comments that were received from the first round of public information meeting. The one thing that wasn't captured there that I'd just offer is parking. I think there were quite a few people that were concerned as to the ratio of how many units and the existing parking, given that it's commercial on the bottom floor, and how it will be accommodated given the number of units that are going to be comprised. So I'll just offer that for a suggestion.
Right, thank you for your comment. Through you, Your Worship, parking will be a matter that staff will review in detail as part of the technical review and will be part of the recommendations report.
Any other members of council with questions at this time? Madam Clerk, would you call the first delegation?
The first delegation is C. Jansen. Mr. or Mrs. Jansen, Ms. Jansen.
Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Jansen. If you could arrange, the microphone will swivel. If you can arrange to speak toward it, that'll assist the people in the audience to hear, and it'll increase our ability to hear.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, you start.
Okay, so this is Mr. Core Jansen. He lives at 527 Pine Grove Road, and I am his daughter, Janet Jansen. And we had submitted a letter with a number of concerns, and just topping 3 of them right now. When it comes to the C1 zoning, in reading one of the documents, it states that that the existing, this is in the planning justification report. It says that the existing retail center with a floor area of, et cetera, complies with all of these recommendations with the exception of a location on a collector road. It seems that Pine Grove is a local road, not a collector road such as Fourth Line. So one of the issues is Pine Grove being a collector, the C1 is, Pine Grove being a local road, C1 zoning is supposed to be on a collector road, similar to Fourth Line. So that brings us to question, is that mall technically supposed to be there? And then putting residential on top of that, asking for an amendment to the C1 zoning. One of the other things is we see there's a study about the volume of traffic, and there's a study about the noise. And in the noise study, it says that the noise that they found is in excessive of the Ministry of Environment recommendations. So that's what it's at right now. And yes, they make 4 recommendations of how they should build the building with extra insulation, double paned windows, et cetera. But what about to the people in the neighborhood that are already there? That are going to, right now are dealing with the excessive noise from Pine Grove and from Spears Road. They're going to be adding to the noise with the construction, but then with putting air conditioning on the roofs of the area, that's just going to add to the excessive noise that the ministries has pointed out. The volume of traffic, of course, is a concern. We noted that a lot of these studies and surveys were done from January to March, which is winter. So a lot of people stay away from Pine Grove. They go to Spears Road because Pine Grove, being a local road, is not serviced as quickly as Spears Road, etc. When we were here for the last information session, it was brought up that there are issues with speed on Pine Grove Road. I don't know how the increase of volume is going to help with the speed. That is an issue. And nowhere in any of this documentation was there any evidence of that survey that was done about the speeding on there. So those are the three main, actually there's one thing too with the servicing report. It says with regards to the sewers and the water mains that they could not pass it without further investigation into the piping of what's there, whether it's up to date, whether it's the right size. So I don't know, are there any, there's things like the effect of the existing water table that is in the area. We do have a water table issue as it is, with backyards being flooded during the springtime. And then again, there's the property water drainage, whether when there's rain and et cetera, behind some of the housing, the ditch has been filled in. So that is cause for concern, like is it gonna add to the flooding of the backyards, et cetera. The condition of Pine Grove Road, anything, west of the plaza is all soft shoulder. Years ago, they were going to fix the bridge that's on the west side. They never did fix the bridge because there wasn't enough money at the time. The bridge is deteriorating. So will the road be able to handle this increase in volume without it being properly upgraded and maintained? So Pine Grove right now is a busy road as it is. It's a main detour for Spears Road and Wildwood Drive, just with regular traffic, let alone when something happens on Wildwood, the buses have to be detoured, or something happens on Spears Road, the detour. Pine Grove is now this year a bus route, a school bus route. So that's a concern with added children on the road. We have a lot of issues with people not stopping at stop signs, especially on Burton Road. I, for one, can say that I've been cut off numerous times of people that just go through the stop signs. I don't know. Was there anything else? Anyways, there's other things on this list, but it's just.
But basically, you've all these things are in the letter that you've
Yes.
given. It's great. So it's all very interesting information, and staff will be weighing all of these things. So, and you've put your finger on several key ones, it seems to me. Council, do you have any questions for the delegation? Thanks very much for your information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is M.A. Schimpf. Schimpf?
Welcome, Ms. Schimpf. Council looks forward to your information.
Ladies, gentlemen, I don't speak fluent English, but you have to take me the way I speak. I have noticed and I have found Pine Grove Road is an authorized bus route. I found the Board of Education in Burlington because the bus, I live on the corner of Pine Grove on Burton Road, right on. The bus quite often stops in front of my yard and my entrance. I phoned the Board of Education and I told the lady the number of the bus, and she said there is nothing you can do. The bus has to pick up those children, and if nobody is there to pick up the children in the evening or bring them down in the morning, the bus has to wait. Now I think it is hazardous to bring a plaza, so many, the plaza is there, but so many more floors, because We bought a house in 1958. We came to Canada in 1953 with a suitcase, a child, and a husband who had no work. So nobody of you people has to explain me how to deal with life. It was tough, Your Honor. It was very tough. But I think that we have a right too to speak up if we don't like some things. We were on that street, like I said, we bought it in 58, before the plaza went up. And now they just can run over. Sometimes you hang there on my driveway for 5-6 minutes to go out because the cars come down, the cars come up Burton Road, they go this way, you don't know if they go this way. A lot of them go through without halting or putting a signal light out. And besides it, the people have moved now. Twice I took a little child, 2 and 3 years, off the street in the middle of Pinegrove Road because the mothers were busy, I don't know where. That's not my, but I hate to see a child in front of my eyes to be killed on account of a traffic going forth and back and forth and back. You people should stay on that corner in the evening and in the morning especially. It is like a mousetrap. And like I said, I don't think so. I'm speaking with for my neighbors also. I don't know how long I live, but I do want that is correct, looked after it, and she's not overmowed, and everybody else around has nothing to say because somebody else has the power. That's all.
Okay, thank you for your information. But we understand, let me see if I understand you correctly. Basically, your concern is that
The traffic.
this doesn't fit the location.
No, absolutely not. And like I said, I was told by the Board of Education, it's authorized, there was never a bus route since 10 or 15 years. And now the buses go up to St. James Church School or I don't know where else, but it stops right in front of my property and it stops in front in the evening on the other property. Okay. And there was, this morning I saw it myself, the bus came down, stopped in front of my property, and across there was people doing a driveway. The people who came from Morton Road down had to stop because they were yellow, orange markers there. Mm-hmm. The people who came from the first line had to stop too because the school bus was there. Now, you want to have a lineup from maybe 20, 30 cars to finally somebody can squeeze through.
Okay, thank you very much for
You're
your
welcome,
information.
sir.
Councillor Bird, I beg your pardon, Mrs. Schimpf?
Jen,
Councillor Bird has a question.
You've been there for, I guess, what's it, 57, 58 years? When did the plaza get built? Was it there when you bought your home?
It was planned.
It was planned, but when
Yeah.
did it come into the neighborhood, do you know?
62. First it was said the plaza should be further up. There were 2 empty lots, yeah? And those people were against it. It was the first line, yeah? On the north side of Pinegrove Road. And those people were against it in that time. And then they broke it down where it is now. Well, there were hardly nobody there. We on Mrs. Troschner, and there were about 4 houses there who were occupied, and the other ones were still in the construction. Yeah. You're welcome, sir.
Next delegation is L. Diaz.
Ms. Diaz, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
I live directly across the street from the plaza, and it's about the traffic. In the morning, there's so much, I can tell when it's about 6 o'clock in the morning, because my bedroom is off the street. I can hear the cars starting to go, like about 1 a minute. Now, if you're going to put 50 units up there, it means 50 cars at least. I don't know when they're going to have the time to get out. At least right now we're retired, I don't have to get out during rush hour. But if I had to, I know it would take 10, 15 minutes to get out. Now you got 50 cars trying to get out, 10, 15 minutes? It's going to take hours. And they do go fast. So that's for sure. Because I make sure there's no cars. And Wendell Place, you're either going to have to put a stop sign or put lights or do something to stop. Otherwise, those cars are not going to have a chance to get out. And that's my main concern, is the traffic. And everything else that, pardon? Yeah, oh, yes, it's all in the letter. To me, it's too many. Too much, it's going to be too many, it's too much movement. Because it's a two-lane road. It's not even a thing in the middle. So they allow for turning. When we go out, we have to go directly into our lanes. We got to make sure there's no cars coming because they go very fast. So that's my main concern, is the traffic and everything else in our letters.
All right, thank you very much for the information. Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
The next delegation is Ms. DeFeria.
Welcome, Ms. DeFeria. Council looks forward to your information.
I'm very sorry I'm not speaking too good English, but I would like to say I'm against this. I've been living in Pine Grove for 47 years. I have a lot of grandkids. I have 8 grandkids, and they all come to my place sometimes. And then the more traffic it is, the more afraid we are to have the children outside. So I'm very sorry, but I like the plaza the way it is. I don't want any development anymore in that plaza, because when I came to Pine Grove, the plaza, the plaza was like that and maintained like that. So my concern is, we like the live in Pine Grove, but we are afraid for the traffic and for my grandkids. And also I could say my neighbors feel the same way I do, and they feel across the street and they have grandkids too. I'm sorry, that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much for saying it.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk.
The next delegation is Ken Barber.
Mr. Barber, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
My name's Ken Barber, and I am a new resident on Pine Grove Road. I live about 3 doors west of the plaza. Okay. The first information session that we had September 6th here, I found out from my neighbors, because I did not have any information regarding this. I come to the information meeting to find out what was going on. I do believe he said he was the designer of the building. There was a traffic study done, and he said it was about a 71-page traffic report. I gave him my phone number. He was going to photocopy it, and I would pick it up to find out what was going on. I consider myself a dinosaur because I don't have a computer. So I couldn't even put in a request today, a statement on my behalf for this plan that's going in. I haven't seen any documentation whatsoever in regards to it. I have my mother-in-law living with us, which is 78 years old. She walks over to the plaza now, and she is there during the day, and she has complained already, and I've only been there a month. She has complained about the speed of the traffic on Pine Grove Road, and about the volume of traffic. So when you put 50 more apartments in there. And I understand Friday night, the plaza is packed. So where are these other people gonna park that are gonna be in the apartments then? You're gonna have people parking all over the place. And that's not why I bought on Pine Grove Road, you know, that I can't get in my driveway and, you know, this whole 9 yards.
So thank you for coming. Your issue is basically similar to everyone else's, overutilization of the site, as I've been known to call it when I'm speaking with planners. And that captures your issue?
Yes, and not knowing, not getting any information whatsoever on what's going on.
Okay. So at the public information night, they didn't have the information?
No. And he said he was the designer of the building. He was gonna copy the traffic report and call me when it was ready, beginning of the week, so I could look at it. And I still don't have the information.
Okay.
So I'm still out in the boondocks as to what's going on in this.
So were you here and able to hear the summary that the planner gave us?
Yes,
of the
I was.
number of units and the I guess I'll say, changes that the applicant has asked for?
Yes.
So that should have filled your information deficit a ways, right?
To a point, yes.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for bringing your information.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is Kathleen Selby.
Ms. Selby, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
I've lived on Wendell Place, directly across the street from the mall, since 2005. I wake up in the morning and open my shutters and I have a beautiful view of 50-year-old plaza that's falling apart, it looks horrible. My children get picked up by the school bus on Pine Grove to go to school. So I'm sorry if I move to the neighborhood and I have kids. More families are moving to the neighborhood. There will be more school buses. That's a fact of life. I tried to sell my house in the winter of 2006, spring of 2007. I had over 100 people come through my home, and not one person was interested in my home because of and I'm quote, the dump across the street. Now, I was not able to sell my home and move for business purposes elsewhere because of this. I have taken the time to meet with, first of all, I went across when they first had their first visit, an informal visit, I guess, across in the restaurant where they greeted people quite graciously into the restaurant to discuss the plans. I think that it's a brilliant idea. I took time to ask them questions. I'm fully aware of the eco-friendly building that they're planning on putting together, that they're going to have solar panels on the roof, that they're going to have natural gas underneath, and everything's going to be eco-friendly. The building itself is spectacular. I know for myself, I'm quite grateful that it's going to bring up the value of my home, because right now I can't sell it for what I paid for it. And it's a nice place. And I speak on behalf of my neighbors. I missed the first council meeting that was here. But some of my neighbors did attend. Now, as you can see, the majority of the folks that have spoken already have been around for 50 plus years. And it's hard to see change, it's hard to accept change. But if you just drive around through the neighborhood, in the back streets around Pine Grove and all those back streets before you get to Rebecca, the old houses are being ripped down and million-dollar homes are being built. And Pine Grove Plaza does not fit in to the picture of what the community is going to look like 5 or 10 years from now. Now, as to whether or not the roads should be changed and if it's going to increase traffic, of course it's going to increase traffic. Are the cars driving fast on Pine Grove? They are. They're driving fast on Morden. They're driving fast on Fourth Line. They drive fast all over the place. I don't think that's a justifiable reason to stop the building of something that's going to change everybody's home value, not just my own, but everybody's, and have a positive impact on the neighborhood overall. Because you know what? I'm tired of hearing the train pass. I'm tired of hearing all the traffic on Spears. And if this building would go up, that would be a sound barrier for my home. So I'm not so concerned with the fact that there's going to be a lot more cars. I've asked the question with regards to parking. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of parking. They plan on putting the majority of the parking at the back of the building, where it's less of an eyesore for people. They plan on making the front of the building more friendly, more green, more cleaner. I don't understand how that is a problem. I don't think that an increase in traffic is a huge issue. I can understand there being a fear of change, but I think that the community is growing. Families, young families are moving into this neighborhood that used to have older families in it. And that needs to be recognized. And this plaza is not a safe place right now the way it is for young families. The parking lot, yes, is full, but it's busy. It's never been full to the point where there's been people on the streets. The back parking lot is never occupied. I've never seen it occupied. There's no reason for it to be an issue.
Thank you for your information. If as a result of staff's analysis of the application, the traffic impact concerns were dealt with and a project went ahead without, I mean, you're not here saying that we should ignore the traffic.
No.
If we could fix it.
Well, you know, if there's some, at some point, I mean, every street gets adjusted. I mean, Spears got widened, everything, it happens when it's required. I mean, as businesses flourish, as the community gets bigger, things change. I mean, it's all part of the process. So I'm not negating the fact, Your Honor, that there's not going to be increased traffic, and one day we might have to repave the road, maybe put a siding on there. I mean, that's common sense, I would think, at some point, but that shouldn't be something that should suppress the improvement of the neighborhood and of that mall plaza.
So would you agree that most of what we heard ran to, rather than a fear of change, discomfort with negative impacts, and we could perhaps hear those statements as hope that the negative impacts would be avoided?
I think that it could be approached in that sense, absolutely. I mean, the biggest concern seemed to be the traffic. You know, I got to come off Wendell Place in the morning, and it's during rush hour, and you know, I wait my turn like everybody else. It's no different in my driveway than it is in anybody else's on Pine Grove. It's the same thing. And I think that if that eventually, you know, is something that has to be addressed, and it'll get addressed when the time comes, but I don't think that it should be a deciding factor in the decision that has to be made based on this plaza.
Okay. Thank you very much for your information. Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is Connie Mercuris, or Mercurio, maybe? Connie. Oh, there she is.
Ms. Mercurio?
Yes.
Pleased to see you. Thanks for coming. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. We own a house on Wendell, 383 Wendell Place, and it's right across from the mall. And that mall has been there so many years, and it's run down. It needs to be redone. It needs to be rebuilt. And they propose in such a beautiful building that I don't know. I think it will increase the value of the houses in the neighborhood. I know that we've been there for a long time. We all think, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, there will be cars. Oh my God, there will be more people. But the mall needs to be rebuilt. It's there for what, 50, 60 years? And been always the same. And like I said, it looks very bad for the neighborhood, the way it is now. And the traffic, like the lady said, they can put a stoplight. They can redo the traffic. I am sure there will be more traffic. Everywhere there is always more and more traffic. It's not just on Pine Grove. I also lived on Pine Grove for 24 years. And of course, the cars, they go by. Now I live on 4th Line, they run. But it has nothing to do with the plaza that the cars go fast or go slow, or whatever. So to my thinking, I think that mall need to be rebuilt and redone, and you know, will eventually upgrade the value of the houses.
Thank you very much for your information.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is SLUA. There is no initial. Okay.
Mr. Slua, thank you for coming. Council looks forward to your information.
Yeah, we like to build the building because it's, I have convenience there. Will be more business for us, like more people, and even the traffic. It's not that too many cars. Will be good for community. Will be new faces they coming, new young generation, and will be good for like they don't bother nobody. I think.
Thank you very much for your information.
Next delegation is Ann Wills.
Ms. Wills, thank you for coming. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you very much. I don't live in Oakville anymore, but I have been a resident of Oakville for over 30 years, in West Oakville, and I've enjoyed going to the restaurant there many, many times. I worked for a few years at Century 21, which is just one street over on Spears Road, and in my business dealings with the people in the plaza, you do notice that's an awful lot of very fast-moving traffic. And I was at the last council, or the last public information meeting, and it seemed that that was the main concern of the residents that had attended that meeting, was the amount of fast-moving traffic. And I really think that that's probably the most important thing for people to look at this point, is to deal with that, and then maybe things will calm down as far as building a beautiful building, which, in my opinion as a realtor, will increase the value in the neighborhood. We've got a builder who is building a green building, an accessible building, in a neighborhood where we have a lot of older people that could very well be accommodated in this building with the elevators, the widened doors, that type of thing. That's how they're building this building. So I really think it's a good thing for the neighborhood rather than a negative.
Thank you very much for your real estate opinion.
Thank
you. Madam Clerk?
Next delegation is Marielle Carey.
Ms. Kari? Possibly Mireille? Ah. A duet.
This is my son, Gabriel.
Thank you for coming. Council's looking forward to your information.
Thank you for having us. We just want to say that this is my father's project, and he's been working so hard on it, and this has been his dream for some time now. And I've heard everyone's points, and I'm sorry for the rain in your backyards and the traffic on the street, but that's what clouds do, and that's what cars do around the world. You're worried about your children playing in the streets. They shouldn't be playing in the streets anyway. That's what backyards are for, really. My child, I work in the restaurant, so my child plays around the back, my child plays around the front. I'm constantly supervising him. That's what parents and grandparents do. They supervise and they keep their children away from harm. I think this is a great idea because some people who come in call the restaurant in Pine Grove a little hidden gem, but it doesn't look like a gem, and it does need a little facelift. It needs a lot of work, actually, and it could be beautiful, not just for my family, but for everybody in the community to enjoy it and be proud of it all together. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, thank you for saying it. Council
you.
appreciates you coming.
Thank you for having us.
Others?
Next delegation is Stephan Bobesich.
Mr. Bobesich,
Stephan.
welcome. There's only a few more.
I ain't aware that signing the attendance.
Oops.
Thank you. I wasn't aware that signing the attendance sheet was meaning I would speak, so I didn't really.
Well, there's no requirement that you speak.
Okay. Yeah, I was just here to gather all the information. I just heard about this project on Saturday when I went to go eat there, so I just was here more to gather information. So that's what I'll be doing.
Well, thanks very much for the diligence.
Thanks for calling me out.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Danny
Fons-
Fonseca?
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 Am I right?
Fonseca.
Fonseca, okay.
How are you, Worship?
Thank you for the pronunciation.
Thank you.
Welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you. I just wanted to let everyone here know that I pretty much grew up in Oakville my whole life. Went to grade school at St. James right down the street. Went to high school at St. Thomas Aquinas, just on Rebecca there. And obviously, as everyone knows, even those places have all been rebuilt. They've looking great. Really suits the community. And same as this plaza, I have a business at 495 Pine Grove Road as well. And it's just run down, you know. I think this project will be nothing but good for everyone, the community, not to mention the businesses as well. Tax money coming back into the town. You know, I'm sorry they feel this way, but you know, it's too bad. But they're little, you know, this little retirement community. I mean, it's got to evolve. People come, they go. Houses will be sold, will be bought, and I think this is definitely the way to go with this plaza. It'll help everyone out in the end. That's pretty much all I wanted to say, is that I support the project and it should definitely go through.
All right, thank you very much for your information.
Thank you.
Next delegation is Steve Sousa.
Mr. Sousa? Welcome. Council looks forward to your information. It's a magic touch.
I live at 403 Pine Grove. I live right down the street from the Pine Grove Plaza. Danny is my partner for one of the businesses there. I was at the last meeting, and I totally understand where our neighbors are coming from about the speed in the area. The only problem is people will always use Pine Grove as a detour off of Spears, especially during traffic hour and in the mornings, everybody's going to work. It's a more accessible street, and people use it more than they do Wildwood, because Wildwood's got a lot of stop signs, so that it's going slower. I'll tell you, I'm younger. I'm almost 38, and I hear the motorcycles going by at 120. By the time they leave Morden, they're passing my home, and they're bulleting through because it's a straightaway. I know some of the people there, and there's a lot of faster cars. And like I did at the last meeting, I suggested maybe putting 3 stop signs in on Pine Grove. One at Southview, one at Ashbury, and one at Burton. See, the problem with the one at Burton, it's only a one-way stop sign. Of course, they're cutting around, but if it was a 3-way stop sign, it would slow cars down. If you can only get so fast up to a certain amount of speed, you know, people are going to slow down. They got to stop. So that will take away from what I see, like problems with kids playing, or if they run out to get a ball or something. I know, I was young. I've lived on Pine Grove. I was born, raised, and I still live there today. And I'm right down the street, and this plaza, see, I look at it too because my father's 80 years old. You know, my mom's 75. And that plaza's been there since they've been there. And you know what? Like, God bless them, but, you know, eventually, like, a lot of our neighborhoods, nobody can afford, like, when you're into your elderly days, you can't afford to take care of a home. Bob, that's trying to get the plaza built, he is an amazing man. I don't know if everyone's met him or not, but he is doing good for the community. What this rental property will do is, because a lot of people too are worried, oh, now you can stick anyone in there. Well, no, because they got to be screened, and a lot of that, I think, is going to come in from the neighbors that can't maintain their homes anymore. But they love the Oakville area. So I think to them that would be an advantage because they live in that area. If they want to stay in the area, they can. And now they've got a place where there's elevator access, you know, there's going to be a little garden, and for the parking, the whole back is supposed to be opened up for the parking. So that's going to be, you know, all the residents will park in the back. We already get a ton of traffic through there. But the only way to slow it down is either speed bumps or stop signs. But I think everybody would rather have a few extra stop signs. Oh, you can't go, now it takes too long to get to where you're going. Well, what do you want? It's either you stop and go slower, or you bolt through at like 80 kilometers an hour, like you see some people do in the neighborhood.
We have had that phenomenon where people first want the traffic slowed and then they want it sped up. So
Yeah.
council has some experience with that.
See, and
So-
I know because, you know, there's water leaks everywhere. There's one in front of my house at least 3 times a year. And you know what? I can't do anything about it. Maybe the pipes need to be redone. Whatever. If the traffic comes in and they see that it needs to be kept up, it's like they say, this is change for the good.
But if you could clarify, you wouldn't mind, presumably, if the issues that have been raised were satisfactorily dealt with along the way here.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. Actually, I think it'd be good because honestly, I'm like my neighbors. I don't like to see the cars flying by. And, you know, my daughter, I have a 9-year-old daughter too. And she likes to play outside, but I tell her not to go too close to the street because I don't, you know, want something to happen and when cars are flying by. But if they're going slower, they can stop a lot quicker. So I think, and two, you know, I've heard a couple issues at the last one. People were talking about property taxes going up. Well, because the plaza is going to be built, I don't think that's going to cause the property taxes to go up. If it is, it's going to be from the $1 million homes that are going up in the area. So I don't think that's too much, you know. By the time that happens, I mean, there will be a lot of other families have moved in by then.
Okay. Thank you very much for your information.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Madam Clerk?
The next delegation is Sergio Scarcello.
How'd we do on that?
I apologize for not being at the first meeting. I just recently real new to Oakville, about a month, and I live on Pine Grove. I have noticed an incredible amount of vehicles that come off of Spears used as a bypass and just racing up and down these streets, which the gentleman is correct that if there were more stop signs to actually slow these vehicles down, they wouldn't be trying to, it's pretty hard to get out of your driveway because they won't even stop to let you out of your driveway, and I'm only 2 houses away from the stop sign. But as for the community, I also see the plaza there, and it is pretty beat up. And I know I've been in this area for about 5 years with people that I know. And I think that this building would be a great help to the infrastructure in the area and also to support the business down below and also generate more revenues for the town if the business is doing well. My only concern is that I noticed that there is a wine nail place that's over there, and if this building was to be built, would the lower half of these buildings protect the people upstairs? Because when you're making wine and nails, they would have to have the proper ventilation for these units to be above. But as the restaurant, I know I've eaten there many times, I think that this would bring value to the community. It would look very beautiful according to the plans, and I would really like to support this unit from being built to bring more people into the area, more people into the businesses, and also if anything could be done to slow down the traffic because there are new families moving in with children in that. To please, I don't think we have to wait to this building be built in order to make our communities a little safer. And I would appreciate anything that could be done by this council to please slow it down, because I know there are enormous seniors that walk around where I am, and I know I help them walk around, but it's kind of difficult when people are racing around or trying to get across the street and they have no patience for them. So thank you again, and
Thank you for coming out, and I hope the word spreads to usually in every neighborhood where we hear the speeding concern, it's your neighbors that are speeding, and we hope they'll hear you and slow down. I think Jeanette Trojnar, have I butchered the name? Welcome. You're next.
Good evening. I live right across.
If we could just get you to move over to the microphone, just to your left.
Sorry about that. I thought
Thank
I
you
was
so
talking.
much. I'll have a better chance to hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I live directly in front of the plaza there. I've been there 56 years. We were the first people to move into that area. There was no Pine Grove Road on either side of us. And I'm listening to everybody. I won't repeat everything because I did send a letter in. And they say traffic's not bad, but it is. It really does go very fast there. I don't begrudge anybody earning money, but I'm surprised that they put in a 50 unit. I hope it doesn't become a transient area. That worries me. And I won't be here that long, but what if I give it to my granddaughter? That's what I'm thinking about, you know. And I have a couple concerns. I live on the west side of it, and they did not maintain that area at all. People came to visit me and wondered why they weren't looking after this side when they did the side of the restaurant. And I don't think that's very fair. And I don't know, I read all about the plaza itself, and I didn't read anything about lighting. I'm wondering what they're going to do with the lighting in the traffic area. And as I say, they say the traffic's not bad, but it is.
Could you amplify your comment about lighting?
Well, I'm wondering because I have the big picture window in the front of my house, and I'm wondering what they're going to do, if they're going to add more lighting because of the parking there for the cars, for the houses there.
So your concern is around unwanted light coming through your windows?
And maintenance, because like I said, they do so much, and all this spring, that one area was cut maybe once or twice on the grass area, and it's embarrassing.
Okay.
I mean, I try to keep my place clean and neat, and you know, I mean, I can't. And it is the traffic is bad. I don't care what anybody says, and you can't stop children when they walk to school. They in and out type of thing too.
So do I get it correctly though that even without growing the plaza, traffic is a problem and you'd like us to take a look at it?
It's been getting worse and worse. Everybody from Spears Road, I think, is using Pine Grove as a bypass rather than Spears because of, you know, the way things are going up there too, you know, so.
So you would like us to look at, even if the plaza is not approved, you'd like us to look at the traffic? Is that
Well,
right?
definitely. I mean, as I say, I'm 87 years old, and I won't be there that long, but I do think about the people coming. And everybody's feeling pretty down about everything that's going on there right now, so.
Well, thank you very much for coming out and
very
bringing your
welcome.
information.
Thank you.
Another one. Mike Burnside? Good evening, Mr. Burnside. Welcome. Council looks forward to your information, and if you could speak toward the microphone, it'd be helpful to me.
I'll try not to touch it, though. I don't want to set it off again here. Sorry to extend it one more speaker, but I live on Pine Grove. I've been there about 5 years with my wife. We have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. We're on the north side. There's no sidewalk on the north side of Pine Grove. So this traffic issue that everyone's talking about, we see every day. Yes, we watch our kids. We're always watching our children, especially in the front yard. But you have to cross the road at some point. There's no sidewalk, so you have to cross, and you're always watching out for this traffic that is usually speeding. I mean, it's probably once a week that I'm passed driving on Pine Grove. The concern is, does Pine Grove Mall need to be updated? Of course it does. Is 4 stories and 50 units in keeping with the neighborhood, that may be debatable. A scaled down version of it may be a little more appropriate, I think. But to go back to the traffic, Spears has a light on it between Morden and 3rd. Rebecca has a light between Morden and 3rd. The only other road is Lakeshore that doesn't have a light. So there's no impediment to traffic along Pine Grove. That's the biggest issue for me, is that we're going to add potentially 50 more cars plus traffic to an upgraded mall. To me, that's insane. It's just not a feasible way to move forward as a community. It may help the people on Wendell Place with their property values, but on the north side of Pine Grove, when you're dealing with that much traffic, that's not going to help our property values at all. Our property taxes may go up, but I mean, if I bought our house when we went and saw it in the evening, 5 o'clock in the evening or 6 o'clock in the evening, we would have seen all the traffic, but we were there at noon. There was hardly any traffic. It was not a problem at the time. But as everybody else that lives on Pine Grove has mentioned, you lie in bed, you know it's 6 in the morning because you can just hear the clickety-clack of the tires over the cracks on the road. My biggest objection is the increased volume in traffic. And with no impediments to that traffic, we're going to have the speed issue. So there needs to be something dealt with it. I've emailed Councillor Damoff and Dedek with regards to a speed study that was supposed to take place. We haven't seen it set up yet, so I'm not sure if that actually took place. So, but I look forward to that happening. And
So like others, whether the plaza changes, and no matter what size it may change if it changed, the traffic is already at a level that you would like us to look at.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much for your information.
All right.
Councillor Burton.
Can I ask one question? You're about the third person that mentioned 50 cars as increased traffic. Where did that number come from?
That just comes from 50 units, assuming that each unit has 1 car added to it or potentially
So
2
they
cars.
go at half a time a day?
Pardon me?
50 cars, that would your suggestion?
I'm just adding 50 cars to the mix that's already
And
an
somehow
unacceptable amount.
So there's 1 car per unit. That means if the theory is that it'd be 1 car from here per day on
Per unit.
Per unit. Okay. I had never heard.
That's just simple math, and then obviously if you have an increased presence of the retail.
It didn't come from a
No, there's no
traffic study
study
as
or
the
anything like
impact
that.
of 50 apartment units plus an upgraded plaza. It came from just
rough,
thank you.
napkin kind of math. It wasn't.
That answers it. Thank you.
No problem.
And to be fair to Mr. Burnside, he's trying, I believe, to, he's estimating on the low side in the circumstances. He's referred to the traffic from the shops. So I think we have your drift, and we appreciate you coming. Thanks very much.
But like I said, I don't have an objection to an upgrade to the mall. 50 units may be a little bit on the high side, though.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, when we look at an issue of overutilization of a piece of property, it comes down to how many units really would fit.
Yeah.
And when the applicant starts out wanting changes to our standards, for me at least, that's a caution.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see the floor plans to see 18 to 17 units on 3 floors. That seems like a fairly small apartment footprint to me, but I haven't seen the plans. Unfortunately, I missed the presentation at the beginning. But
Well, I think we can look forward to a fulsome report when the recommendation comes back, whatever it'll be. Thanks for coming and helping us. Councillor Bird, I wonder if you need your mic again, if Councillor Damoff would share hers with you.
They work? I have no further questions, but until we get this thing working, we'll have to share.
Because hers works really well.
I've tried it many times, and she reminds me that that's the one I should be using.
Well, it turns out you were right the first time, perhaps. All right, if there's no other delegations or anyone else who's been moved to speak by what we've heard, I'll confine it to table and I'll look for a recommendation to receive the information. And I'll look to Ward 2. Councillor Damoff, thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So I don't think anyone came in after I made my explanation. There'll be a recommendation report from planning at a future meeting you'll get notice, and we'll see what the planners have made of all the information that they've received here tonight. And thank you to all of you for bringing it. And the planning director has an update here. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could just extend the information to those residents that are here this evening. All of the information on this application is available online through the town's website. And for those individuals who do not have access to the website or to a computer, they can certainly contact Paul Barrette at the planning office, and he'd be more than pleased to make copies of that information for the residents who require that.
So to make this easy, you can just call the main number of the town and ask for Paul Barrette. And alternatively, if you can't remember his name, you can call my office and we'll help you out. Either way, we'll get you the information. Thanks very much for that note, Director. All right, Council, that brings us to the discussion item number 3 on your agenda tonight, the notice of intention to demolish at 319 Maple. Shall I look? Oh, would you like a 5-minute recess for an orderly evacuation? We are recessed for 5 minutes. All right, Council, let's resume our recessed meeting at this point now. And if you'll turn your attention to Susan Shepard, we, I believe, have a précis of the report that you're considering here tonight on the demolition, intention to demolish at Maple.
Sorry, I just haven't seen the cue for my presentation here. There we go.
Is that one?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Your Worship, and members of Council. This application deals with the notice of intention to demolish for the property at 319 Maple Avenue. The property is listed on the Oakville Heritage Register as a non-designated property. It's been on the register since 2009. The owner has submitted a notice of intention to demolish. When we receive these notices, we do a site visit with the property owner to make sure that they understand what listing of their property means, that there are no heritage permits required, and that the only control over their property is a 60-day waiting period for demolition. So staff met with the property owner, and the property owner did explain to us that it was originally his intention not to demolish the property. However, as he had bought the property to build an addition and then to, I believe, to essentially make a larger residence, as he uncovered more and more in the property, there were mold issues, structural issues, and he decided to go forward with that notice of intention to demolish. So, as we have to do when we receive these things, we look at properties against the Ontario, the requirements of Ontario Regulation 906, which defines heritage value. So we look at 3 different categories: physical and design value, historical and associative value, and contextual value. Staff are of the opinion that there is limited heritage value in this particular property and that it would not be suitable for designation under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. It's a representative of a 1920s vernacular bungalow, and it's associated with the Tuxedo Park subdivision. However, as I said, the significance is not enough to, in staff's opinion, warrant designation under the Act. Therefore, staff's recommendation is that the notice be received, which would then allow for the property to be demolished.
Thank you, Ms. Shepard, for the report. Are there questions, Council? Councillor Dudek.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Just to assist for those who don't sit on heritage, at this time, staff are of the opinion that it does not merit Part 4 designation as an individual property, but there may very well have been merit if we had looked at, say, something like a district being Tuxedo Park, but we don't have that at the present time. And so your analysis is based on the Part 4 as one individual property, correct?
Through you, Your Worship, that is entirely correct. The property may have merit as part of a heritage district, but unfortunately, that's not what we're evaluating it against.
All right, then, Council, I'll look for a motion. Councillor Dudek, you're offering the staff recommendation that the notice be received. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is passed. Council, that brings us to the advisory committee minutes, item number 4. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Elgar moves the adoption of the minutes, correct? All in favor? Opposed, if any? The minutes are received. I would like a motion to rise and report at this point. Councillor Dudek, thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. I rise and report that the Committee of the Whole has met and made recommendations on consent item 1, public hearing item 2, discussion item 3, and the advisory committee minutes item 4, as noted by the clerk. And a mover and seconder for this report, Councillor Giddings and Councillor Johnston, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? The report is adopted. Council, does anyone have new business, emergency, congratulatory, condolence? Councillor DeMoff.
Sometimes dreams really do come true. And for two Oakville sisters on Friday, the dream of sending books to the Anishinaabe Nation came true. Emma and Julia Mogus founded Books Without Bounds in an effort to send books to, as they say, their brothers and sisters in the North. And their hope had been to collect 1,000 books. And they put the call out to the Oakville community, and residents answered in droves. The girls spent their summer holidays sorting and cataloging books, and with the help of Hopedale Mall and Panago Pizza and on Neagawa and the Oakville community, on Friday, the Laborers International Union of North America and the Construction and Allied Workers Local 607 from Thunder Bay sent a pickup truck to Hopedale Mall. 55 boxes had been cataloged and labeled, and they are bound for, hopefully they're there, for Thunder Bay, Ontario, where they will then be thrown into 24 fly-in communities. So I'd like all of Council to join Councillor Dudek and I in congratulating Emma and Julia Mogus on a fabulous job. They have said they're teen sisters on a mission, and they are now starting to collect the next 5,000 books.
Thank you very much, Councillor. It sounds like they're starting libraries. Anyone else? All right. Then a mover and seconder for the bylaws, Councillor Elgar, Councillor Robinson, thank you. This is the bylaws presented in the agenda tonight. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? The bylaws are adopted. That completes the agenda. It's been great working with you all, and we are adjourned.